back to Screen Preach. It's episode 15. 15 weeks we've been doing this. I think my headphones are on backwards. Yup. That's better. Alright, what's up? What's going on? Yes, I got a haircut. And all I have to say to that is finally. Because it's amazing what something as simple as getting a haircut can make you feel like, I feel that much more normal, more refreshed because of the haircut. Now, did I show the guy at the barber a picture of what I wanted, and did he do almost the exact opposite of it? Yes. Did I trim my beard before I went there, the way I want it? And he randomly, halfway through the haircut, moves from my head to my face and just takes it all off? Yes. Was it probably one of the worst experiences with a barber that I've ever had? Probably, because he didn't do what I asked at all. With that being said, it just feels good to have, a clean. It just feels better, there was a lot to deal with there on my head. Yeah, so I won't be going to him again. Gotta find my barber here in LA. It's funny though, I got one other haircut before, and it was before the shutdowns and everything, the lockdowns, whatever. And that guy did good. He did exactly what I asked him to do. He wasn't in there. Same barbershop, but he wasn't in there. Whatever. I don't know. Better luck next time, I guess. Alright. What do we got today? What do we got today in movies? Before we even get into the movie stuff, I feel like I have to address what's going on in the world a little bit. Because I have this platform, and if you have a platform like this, you gotta utilize it. I didn't talk about anything going on with the George Floyd protests last week because, well, first of all, it's tough to talk about, obviously, because it's heartbreaking and it's terrible, but also because I wasn't sure what to say. There's something different about this situation than past ones. I think I read somewhere that it's the largest civil rights protests in ever. I think. Don't quote me on that, but I think I heard that. I mean, every country. Bear with me, I'm a little tired. Every country. I said it again. So it turns out there's 50 countries in the United States of America. Every state in this country had protests, which is amazing, and obviously it's even more amazing that we're still at this point, that we're not past this. What was amazing to me was how little I actually knew. I think if you're not going to do anything else, the first thing you should be doing is reading up or watching things or just getting more knowledge on this, because you'd be surprised at how little you actually know or understand about this. And we'll never truly understand what it's like ever if you're white in America, because you're not black. So you can't know. But the least you can do is try to understand, is try to better, learn about the situation at hand, so that you can learn too what you can maybe do to help. That's what I've come to understand about it. For me, is that I can't just stand by and do nothing, and none of you should be doing nothing. I think I've learned that it's not enough to just not be racist anymore. You have to be anti-racism. And that is, if you're protesting, keep protesting. If you're posting things, keep posting things. If you're not going to do those things, you should be donating and signing petitions. You should be doing at least those things, because every little bit is going to help make this better. I would hope at some point in our history. This is definitely an historical moment. It's just awful to still be here. The biggest thing I've learned is that I didn't know about the systemic racism and how deep it runs and how terrible it actually is. But there are organizations you can donate to that can help with fighting the systemic racism. I think that's because the thing is, I think what I've noticed is, if there's one thing to take away from this that's good, it's that look at how united we actually are in this. Most people agree that this was. I think everyone agrees that this was terrible and it needs to stop. That is the silver lining here, is that we do come together during these terrible times. We unite and we want to do something about it. The problem is there's no individual really that you can be like, you're the reason. I think if you're not angry, you're part of the problem. You should be angry. But there's no group of certain individuals that are really to blame for this, except for obviously the cops, who the bad apples, obviously. But I mean, like, in terms of actually fixing the problems, it's the system that's the problem. All I know is we can do. There's plenty of things we can be doing to help try and change the system. Look, the point is, damn, I wanted to say something else. Well, yeah, no, I mean, what the point is this. It's that you should at least be trying to learn more about it, because that is the first step to actual change. That's what I have to say. I'll put links in the descriptions this week for those organizations. I didn't do the Blackout Tuesday only because I don't think posting a black box is enough. What I did was I posted something specific. I posted about, here's a bunch of films, civil rights films, that can give you even more knowledge about this. I think the best thing we have in times like this is our expression, is art, is our voice. I think films, music is the best way to express and be heard. So yeah, that's what I'll say about that. And moving on to movies this week, we will be talking about them in the name of the Godfather, Son of Odin, and the Holy Jedi. I'm getting shirts made for this podcast, and I would like to offer, I will give you a free shirt if you can actually get the quote of the week right. That's going to be a new thing. If you can actually attempt to get the quote right, the movie quote of the week, there's a free shirt in it for you. And you can pick from, I think, three designs that you can pick from, or two designs, but with various colors and sizes. Obviously, you get the quote of the week right now, you get a free shirt. Is that enough to motivate you to figure out the fucking quote? And it's, if I give you, I can't, the thing that is funny, my mom, she's like, I finally got one. Yeah, but I gave you a huge hint. No hints, okay? You gotta get it without my hints. And they're not that hard. Just be a little more educated in fucking film. Go watch some fucking classics if you're having trouble. These are obvious fucking quotes. They're not hard. What do I have to do for my current audience? Does it have to be something as simple as a fucking comedy that we all saw in fucking 2008? Do I have to do the fucking, you know, I I don't it seems like people are more interested when I do those. I did the knocked up one a few weeks back just for fun, like quick. I didn't say what it was from or anything, but like, you know, maybe I will do, maybe, I don't know. I'm trying to do the same genre as the movie that I'm talking, you know. I don't know. Maybe I'll just know that there's a free shirt in it now if you get it right. Just know. Anyway, we got some news this week. Interesting week. Not crazy stuff, but I think hopeful stuff, if anything. For instance, I think the biggest thing that's happening for film and television is that California Governor Gavin Newsom officially announced that on June 12th, film and television productions can continue. And with that news, there is some announcements in terms of things restarting, which is great. We have WandaVision starting up again with more filming in July, and I think Falcon and Winter Soldier and Loki are looking to do some more. They're also continuing to trying to start filming again in early July. So that's good. Movement is good, obviously, in this time. What else did, in terms of actual, I guess, cool casting news, maybe, I don't think there's not a whole bunch of stuff, but we have some stuff. We got Marvel can use its Daredevil characters again in a few months. Yes, Marvel is regaining the rights, 100%, all the rights to Daredevil again. I think with the Netflix deal they used to have, it was like, you know, Netflix had some of those rights. I don't exactly know, but they will have the character, and we will learn in time what they plan on doing with the character of Matt Murdock, Daredevil. Of course, true fans would want to see Charlie Cox return from the Netflix show Daredevil and play Daredevil in the movies and interact with characters from the movies that we know. Of course, we all want that, but I would probably prepare yourself for recasting. They'll probably put their own spin on the character and everything. I would just more likely prepare for that. Don't expect the Netflix characters and the same actors who played them to show up. I just don't think it's going to happen. It would be cool, but the thing is about that, for people who haven't watched the Netflix shows, it would probably be more difficult for them to follow. It just adds a whole, all of a sudden you have to take all those shows into account if you want to understand the full story. I think more likely recasting. But it's cool that they got a character to utilize. Planet of the Apes director says the new movie will be a continuation. So this might have been news from before Screen Preach's existence, but I may have brought it up before. But Disney acquired the Planet of the Apes because they bought Fox. It's the same way they were able to get X-Men now and Fantastic Four. It was an unbelievably huge deal for Disney and for Marvel and for, you know. So now it'll be Disney will be planning on doing more Planet of the Apes films. They announced they are definitely planning on doing it. Here's what's funny about this. I don't recall who they hired to direct the next ones. If I open this, will it not stop recording? Let's hope so. I want to see if they mention who the director is, because I know that I'm just not remembering. They definitely probably announced it back, unless they're talking about the old director Matt Reeves, who knows what they plan on doing, but apparently they plan on continuing. So what does that mean? More Caesar? I honestly thought that his trilogy, his story was done. I don't see why you need to do more of his story, but if you know, whatever. Um, who said this? Disney, soon after getting hold of the property from Fox, fast tracking a relaunch of the franchise. Wes Ball. Oh yeah, yeah. Okay, I remember who they cast, who they hired. So he says we have a take, we have a way of staying in the universe that was created before us, but we're also opening ourselves up and being able to do some really cool new stuff. Again, I'm trying to be careful here. I'll say this for fans of the original three, don't worry, you're in good hands. Okay, I guess it very much is a direct. We're just gonna keep going with Caesar's story, I guess. But it's not Caesar's story. It's a continuation of Planet of the Apes. Caesar's story, spoilers, is done. He sacrificed himself at the end. He's gone, but his legacy is probably where we continue, right? Um, it'll be new character. It'll probably focus on Cornelius again. You know, the way that they tried to connect the trilogy to the original Planet of the Apes was very cool, but there are some things that don't line up, obviously. Or maybe it's just I don't know, or maybe it is. I don't. I don't. The thing about watching the original Planet of the Apes, it's hard to connect it to our trilogy, um, because it seems like there's a lot of years that have passed. You know, I mean, for 90% of the movie, our main characters, Charlton Heston, you know, he thinks that it's been like hundreds of. The thing is, the ship he comes in on even says it's been like hundreds and hundreds of years. So, you know, and the new trilogy tried to connect them by making Cornelius from the original the same Cornelius we come to know as Caesar's son, but there's no way for that to work if it has been hundreds of years later. Um, so more likely Cornelius from the original is a descendant of Caesar, not the actual son of Caesar. So now maybe we get to see the story of the first Cornelius, Caesar's son Cornelius. Um, that would be cool. That's where I would take it next. You know, with Maurice still there, like mentoring him and whatever. That's cool. Cool news. Cool beans. What else we got? So last week I mentioned how officially Paramount and Apple are teaming up to do Scorsese's next movie, Killers of the Flower Moon. Turns out they weren't planning on branching out to another distributor, but Paramount got scared when this is just some new details on it. Paramount was a little freaked out when DiCaprio wanted to change the main like one of the main characters from the book. Apparently, there he drastically wanted to change the character in some way, and that I don't know, that and the rising budget, I guess, freaked Paramount out. I don't even in this day and age, even someone as legendary as Scorsese can't seem to get the funds from a regular studio these days to do a regular movie. His films have been more blockbuster type budgets, like fucking Marvel. He's got $200 million for this, and fucking The Irishman was also around the same thing. It was $250 million budget for what's supposed to be a regular drama film. Scorsese is taking. It's funny for someone who criticizes Marvel. He's taking more of he's taking a much larger approach to his films lately. Um, but I guess Paramount didn't even want to dish that $200 million to fucking legendary Scorsese. They allowed him and DiCaprio to branch out to other studios to try and get a partner in this, and they landed on Apple. Just something interesting about that. What else? Here was a really interesting thing that might actually be happening. The thing is, these sometimes I like to talk about some rumors because they're interesting enough to talk about. But the thing is that most of the time I won't talk about rumors. I'll talk about things that are confirmed. This is not confirmed, but I think it's worth a look. WandaVision may be adding Evan Peters to its cast. Now, Evan Peters from American Horror Story and a million other things, he played the X-Men version of Quicksilver. The MCU version of Quicksilver was played by Aaron Taylor Johnson. Quicksilver is Scarlet Witch's is Wanda's brother, Pietro, and he dies in Age of Ultron. Spoilers, but that was in 2015, so you should have fucking seen it by now. And so we haven't seen Quicksilver. There's no Quicksilver anymore in the MCU. But here's the thing about WandaVision. It's supposed to connect a little bit to Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. If there's a big-time multiverse connection here, is this how they bring in the X-Men through the multiverse? Do we have Evan Peters' interpretation of Quicksilver show up in the MCU all of a sudden? These are interesting questions to think about. If they were taking that route with the X-Men, pulling them from another universe, it would have to be done gracefully. It would have to be done right, because that can be tough. I have faith in Marvel. They haven't given me any reason not to have faith in them yet. When they do, then I'll start to be like, all right, slow down, reevaluate. But they, until they fuck up for me and for everyone else, we'll see what they decide to do here. Honestly, Evan Peters, if he's cast, he could just be playing a new character. Like, relax. I know we all get, like, hyped, so when the rumors start to fly. I will say this, though, too. As much as I love having Quicksilver in the MCU for a second, Aaron Taylor Johnson did a good job and everything. Evan Peters' interpretation of Quicksilver from the X-Men film, I think his was better. Really funny too. Those are funny scenes when he's in them in the X-Men movies. Whatever. I think that's just an interesting rumor. When it's confirmed, I'll let you know. I also mentioned how Ruby Rose left Batwoman. She's not gonna be Batwoman. She's not gonna be Batwoman anymore. She's not gonna be Batwoman anymore. And I said last week, I was like, how are you gonna do that now? You're just gonna cast someone else to play Kate Kane, the character? No. See, they're being smart about it. Kate Kane, the character, is also gone. Apparently, they're bringing in a new character, someone new playing that character, so that it's not all fucked up. That's obviously the smarter way to go. For Batwoman fans, there's a little something that's a little more hopeful. What else we got? David Ayer. Oh yeah, David Ayer tries to build hype for Suicide Squad director's cut. I think ever since we got the confirmation that his Justice League cut is officially coming out next year on HBO Max, there's hype for other directors' cuts of films to come out. HBO Max, you have, Warner Brothers, you have this potential now to utilize your service to do these things. I wouldn't just dismiss it. Because here's the thing about Suicide Squad. It was stinky. And it was stinky because of studios. Here's the thing about Warner Brothers. The reason that they have the DC Comics problems that they have are because of the studio heads in the studios. They butcher artists' work. Apparently, David Ayer, what he wrote and was planning on filming was much more, dramatic and a more in-depth look at the Joker. There was more drama, less humor, and the money people butchered his work. That's not uncommon. So to get his cut of the film would be interesting, to see what he actually had envisioned for the film before the studio pooped out some version of it. So I think, yeah, we should not dismiss director's cuts if we have the ability to release them. Also, in more restarting, we have Mission Impossible 7 to restart production in September. Okay. Hopeful. I also mentioned, I put this up on Instagram. So, Just Mercy, a film by Daniel Destin Creighton, starring Michael B. Jordan, Brie Larson, and one of the films I mentioned in my post that you should be watching right now. It is free on VOD right now because of the George Floyd protests and everything that's going on. It is free for you to watch. There's no reason why you can't. I talked about this film a few weeks, almost 10 weeks ago now. I talked about it. I did my analysis on it. It's a good movie. It's definitely worth watching right now. If ever there were a time to watch it, it's definitely now. And it's free. So go and fucking watch it. Definitely. What else did we get? Anything? Wow, I brought up Daredevil twice. Avatar is another one. Avatar Restart. Oh, they're already restarted. They arrived at James Cameron heading back to New Zealand right now as we speak. He's there. They are restarting production on the Avatar sequels, obviously. Some good news there. Me personally, Avatar was good, not great. For people who fucking... Oh my god, it's amazing. It was good. Okay? Relax. But we got sequels coming nonetheless. That's another property Disney owns now. Avatar's under Disney now, too. They literally own everything. It's insane. And that was that was the news of the week. That was our movie, film, TV, fucking news of the week. From there, I think it's as good a time as ever to talk about the movie we're going to be talking about today, which is 2019's, last year's reboot of Aladdin. In 10,000 years, I have never once, ever called a master a friend. Like the original film that came before it, the heartfelt and inspirational beats still shine through in this remake. But now I am going to propose that perhaps this one is in ways, that's right, here we go, better than the original. Whoa, hold on, Ben. The original Aladdin? The one that inspired us all and shit? Yes, because, and here's the thing about these reboots lately, especially these Disney reboots, okay? There was The Lion King. It wasn't better than the original because it wasn't much different. You have Aladdin, though. There were a lot of differences, I thought, that make it a better film. Make it a more resonant film than the cartoon original because of some of the themes and messages that the cartoon original did not convey that this one does. Make sense? Let's get into it. There's no way to ever get rid of the magical spark the original brought to our lives, of course. You can't really redo that. That's why it's a remake, and remakes don't have that ability to give you that spark of originality and like, oh, I've never seen this before, and this is amazing because it's fresh and new, and there's magic and all this, it's not new. So, yes. But you can give us a more impactful story about multiple characters in this world. For a film titled Aladdin, this is actually more about friendship amongst multiple people than it is about one person. That's not different, per se, from the original. That's true of the original. But I think this remake does more to enhance those themes than the original did. It also gives each character their own effective arcs and their own purpose true purpose in this story that perhaps the cartoon original did not. So beginning with story and script. Let's start with the opening of the film, which I particularly liked because it ends up connecting directly back to a moral decision that Aladdin makes at the end of the film. I think in order to successfully remake this film, you definitely have to be creative and have creative moments like this. Who better to tell the story of Aladdin than the person who had the initial impact of sparking Aladdin's story in the first place? The genie should be the one to tell this story, obviously. I also think it's interesting that it's Guy Ritchie who directed this film. Now, that's just interesting because I did not realize that for a time. As the movie was coming out last year, even after it was on VOD and DVD and all that stuff, I still didn't realize until I sat down and watched it and saw in the credits that actually this is Guy Ritchie who fucking directed this movie. Did not know that. Now, Guy Ritchie, the reason I bring it up is because it's so unlike his style, let's just say, you know. Even while watching it, though, it does a good job in embodying the genre he's telling a story in. He doesn't, try to put he does he expresses the right moments and the style is right. It was just interesting to find out that it was Guy Ritchie. Just because of what he did, what he's known for. I talked about The Gentleman in episode 2. That's Guy Ritchie. So there, to give you an idea of his style, he does films like Snatch, The Gentleman, the Sherlock Holmes movies. That's, I didn't realize it was Guy Ritchie. John August, on the other hand, the writer, I love his work. He's one of the best these days at adapting remakes of things. He did the Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, or Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory remake, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, and he was one of the writers on this. Does a fantastic job constructing the film and changing the necessary moments to make certain things more impactful. This is what I was getting at, and it's because of writers like John, and I assume Guy Ritchie also helped with the writing. They were able to hit the right beats here to make it an even more impactful film. Wow, she's knocked out. What are you doing? So, like with other things John August has remade or adapted, he knows how to cherish the spirit of the original while doing things that are effectively original here. So, I think structurally it's pretty much beat for beat like the original, as in the plot points are almost the same, but that's kind of expected when you remake something. For instance, the inciting action is obviously when Aladdin and Jasmine meet, but the way they meet is different. And it's only to further aid the character of Jasmine and actually give her a more satisfying arc. Of course, what Aladdin and Jasmine both represent is important, but unlike the original, Jasmine is much more active, with a clear intention and willing to do what she has to do to get what she wants. Plain and simple, Jasmine actually has agency as a character in this film, whereas in the cartoon, she didn't. There is a beautiful surface to the city of Agrabah, that which Jasmine sees and feels every day. But underneath there is an ugliness. There's poverty and corruption that she's not privy to, the way Aladdin is. Aladdin is the character who embodies the underneath of Agrabah, someone who does what he has to do to survive. This is also true of the original. It's not something the original didn't do. But propose this one does a better job at presenting the social messages and themes that shine through. Social status, love, honor, survival, acceptance, right versus wrong, obviously. And the big one, I think, in this one is identity. Being who you are. Identity is a big one in Aladdin. So all of these themes, not to say that the original did not have these themes, this one does more to express the themes. Aladdin is our hero, of course, but every character willing to fight against the greedy evilness of Jafar is an important character in the overall story. They all go through some kind of change. Jasmine has to learn to see things from the perspective of the people, but her biggest change is taking control of her life and letting her voice be heard. She has to do these things in order to become a leader at the end. They actually make her her arc is that she becomes a leader. Jasmine has a satisfying arc in the movie. Her father also has to learn to do what's right, despite what tradition might tell him. And there might be a hint of greediness in him that he must abandon as well. So even someone as minor of a character as this Sultan, her father, he even goes through change. The genie must find his true purpose beyond his obligation. He and Aladdin both have to embrace their identities. Other things to mention structurally, I think, are that the Act 1 climax, which is the true start of the film, is obviously when Aladdin finds the lamp, finds Genie. The reversal is Aladdin's initial defeat of Jafar because it sparks an unraveling, makes Aladdin think he can get away with being someone he's not. He further embraces the lie. That's why it's an unraveling. He loses himself, and it forces an unraveling, as he also loses the faith Genie has in him. This leads into the down and out moment, which is Jafar taking over Genie and all of Agrabah when becoming Sultan. This sets up two reaffirmations. We have two effective reaffirmations. Like I said, it's not just about Aladdin, and it never should have been. It's about Aladdin and Jasmine. It's their story of their love, but also of their goals, their intentions. So we get those two reaffirmations. One in Aladdin, one in Jasmine, both embracing who they are, saves the day. Who they really are saves the day, you know? It's about discovery, self-discovery. And when they embrace who they really are, they succeed. Jasmine's moment, speaking up and taking control, this is new. This is not from the original. This was an important moment, and it made the most sense to give the film a new original song. If you were going to give the movie a new original song, because it's known for being a musical too, this was the best possible moments for that. Jasmine's song that she sings at her reaffirmation moment. What was it? What was it? Come on, what was the name of it? I'll remember it. Sorry, but that was an original song. Her moment of true, taking control, her reaffirmation. That was completely new moment. Aladdin, for Aladdin, it was being brave. His reaffirmation was being brave enough to confront Jafar, even with the all-powerful wishes at Jafar's disposal. The climax, of course, is they beat Jafar, and what follows is a hopeful and happy ending, which you have to still give this movie. If it's to be Aladdin, you have to still have that spirit of the original Aladdin. It's got to be that happy ending. It made more sense, too, to make Jasmine the Sultan. Much more sense, okay? So this is where they another big change that's more effective than the original. So, obviously, she could just change the law and marry Aladdin if she's Sultan, right? There you go. There was a problematic thing with that in the original. So in the original, it's the Sultan's like, here, Aladdin, you become Sultan. It's like, instead of that, just have Jasmine change the law. If you're Sultan, you can. It just made way more sense to do that. Because Aladdin technically has no right to be. He has no right to that title, and no experience for it. Jasmine's the one who hasn't the experience of being a leader, and it just made way more sense. In the original, Jasmine, she's a one-dimensional character. Everything's about Aladdin. Still, as Aladdin is the titular hero, the true down and out for him is his truth revealed and himself banished. That was his down and out. His reaffirmation is his kindness and friendship to Genie, motivating him to make the decision he does to help Aladdin, thus leading to Aladdin's climactic decision to free Genie. Obviously, Genie is a great character, and I think Will Smith did a great job. His character has an effective arc. He defies the laws he's bound to as Genie and helps Aladdin, because instead of your duty, there's also what's right and wrong. Just doing what you're supposed to is sometimes not always the right thing, and Genie does what's right instead of doing what he's supposed to as Genie, which was technically to just keep serving Jafar. As far as direction and visuals in this, the direction of the musical set pieces is spectacular. That's what really stands out. It's exactly what you would want from an Aladdin film. The choreography and the visual effects also further bring the film to life. Nothing specifically stood out to me in terms of shots or anything, except with the musical set pieces, I think. Guy Ritchie being a filmmaker with work I enjoy following, this was fun to see him attempt a film that's different from what his usual style is. Performances, even if there are a lot of beat-for-beat moments, sometimes it doesn't devalue the dialogue written and the performances that give the film a fun and enjoyable energy. So even though you can have those beat-for-beat moments from the original, the dialogue is all new. It's written by the writers of this film, and then the actors who take on these characters and perform, there was their own fresh, unique interpretation of the characters we already knew. The performances feel original enough that you don't have to think about the original, I think, which is good. And you shouldn't think about the original. That won't do you any good. Just enjoy this one. That's the biggest problem people still, have with watching fucking movies. It goes along the lines of a lot of other things I've mentioned on this podcast, having certain expectations. Just think you do yourself a service by not having certain expectations. Don't expect it to be better than the original, or to be like the original even. Just let it be what it is and take it for what it is. Will Smith, I think, is funny in this too. He's a funny Genie. We'll never forget what Robin Williams gave us with the original Genie. That is forever in our hearts. Rest in peace, Robin Williams. But Will Smith does a really good job. There's a really good chemistry between the actors that give the film that same energy of the original, while also being original at effective plot moments itself in this. A couple other little things I want to point out. This film fixes problematic moments from the original, like when Jasmine and Aladdin meet. There's not some strange comment on mental health or anything. It's like, by having Jasmine pretend to be like in the original, she pretends to be crazy to get out of their little situation. It was just better. It was just more effective. For Jasmine's character, I think there were a lot of necessary changes. Most of all, I've already mentioned that Jasmine is just a more impactful character overall, and not at the expense of Aladdin, which was important. One little thing that didn't work for me was the fact that nobody recognizes Aladdin because of Genie's magic. Now, where that might have worked in the cartoon original, it does not work here in this in this live action remake. It was just a little weird. What I would have done, just you know, for live action, maybe give him a moment in the film, and give us a moment in the film where he looks in a mirror and sees what other people might see. So that would have made it more effective. Like maybe he looks a certain way to people, but for us, the audience, we just see Aladdin. But to give us that moment, maybe like have him look in a mirror and see what other people are seeing, so that it's more effective when we have Jasmine talking to him and she doesn't recognize him. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe that devalues aspects of it, but I kind of think it would have helped in that regard. I don't know. Just didn't work as well in this as it would in the original cartoon live action. My overall take on this film is that it manages to be a good movie, or at least a good remake of a good movie. Remakes are tough. They are. Many people don't even want them. Seriously. But there is an audience for seeing something again. Just the idea of seeing something again, that there's plenty of people out there who... So there's an audience for remakes, just as much as there's people who don't want them. I personally only like a remake if it works, obviously. That's a stupid thing to say. Obviously, it needs to work, or I don't like it. I think this one works, especially when we go from cartoon to live action. I just think those remakes work a little better because the type of film they are right off the bat is different. You know, if something was a cartoon and then you remake it and it's live action, it's already different. So they tend to work better for me. Unlike when we remake a live action film from the 80s, think about it like that. If we take a live action film from the 80s and make a remake in live action 25 years, it's just a little bit harder, I think. This remake is effective. The big takeaways is the necessary messages the film conveys. So, of course, also the necessary changes. It's less about Jasmine finding a better ruler in Aladdin when she herself is the better ruler. You obviously have to update the outdated depictions of things. A common trend with old Disney movies. They were a little problematic sometimes. The overall idea Aladdin represents is being free of oppression, and in this film, oppressed takes many forms. So the genie is oppressed by magic, Aladdin by poverty and circumstances, Jasmine by gender discrimination, and even the Sultan is oppressed by the own power his position holds over him, because he's constantly under attack by Jafar. Accepting who you are is the only true way to break free. So that's what every character does in some sense. Aladdin's morals save him and everyone else he cares about. Jasmine is a prisoner in her own home, not free to live and experience life, but in the end, her fire, her will, is stronger than the magic Jafar uses. And that's why she overcomes her conflict. The other big message in the film is the idea of not trying to be something you're not. Be yourself is like that's Aladdin. It's always been be yourself. Don't try to be some fluffed up version in order to get things. Be yourself, and the things you want will come. You know. This film, in contrast with the original, it's both Aladdin and Jasmine trying to be something they're not. It's both their story. They have to embrace who they are in order to win. And Genie finds himself by being a true friend to Aladdin, thus getting the same back from him when Aladdin sets him free. It's just a feel-good... It's one of those feel-good movies, you know? I couldn't call it bad. How could I call it bad or even okay? It's a good movie. So, overall, being an enjoyable film, I give it an 8.0 out of 10 It was good. And I'm going to be honest, this is a better remake than the live-action Lion King, which isn't really live-action. It's just a different animation than cartoon. But that's just my personal opinion. If you take the two Lion Kings that we have now, the original is still better. The original is. I mean, I don't know. Maybe they're just equally great. I don't know. The thing is, you want to try to be kind of fresh and new with. The thing about the Lion King remake, there was more action in the climax, I think, than in the original. That was good. I'd have to actually rewatch the original to really remember. We're not talking about Lion King this week, so I don't know what I'm saying. We're done. We done. We done. Here we go. It's our movie quote of the week. And if you get it right, free fucking shirt. And here it is. My father once told me, protect everything the light touches. If I don't fight for it, who will? And this week's genre is kids and family. And I'm smiling because there's an obvious thing here that just happened. And if you think about it for a second, you'll figure out what this line is from. All right. Anyway. Yeah. We're done. Done. As always, as usual, as whatever else synonym I can find for usual, as always, as usual, as always, as common. I don't know. I'm your host. I'm sorry, that was a weird ramble. It's just I was up till I was just up late, just watching stuff, and didn't exactly wake up. Whatever. Yeah. The good news for me is I think I'll have some hours of work this week. So that's good. Whatever. I'm your host, Ben Morganti. And, follow me personally at the Ben Morganti. Follow the show at Screen Preach. You could also follow me personally at the Ben Morganti on Twitter. You can check out my website, benmorgantistory.com, and you gotta subscribe to the YouTube channel BMS Studios. You gotta do it. And keep in stay tuned every week, every Monday for a new episode of Screen Preach. You can also find it if you just want to listen to it. I personally like to listen to it more than watch it, but whatever. Apple Podcasts, it's there. Screen Preach. Also, you can check out my brother's channel, J&J Customs, for content on various misadventures of motorcyclists, enthusiasts. It's good channel. A lot of good builds and fun stuff. Am I forgetting something here? Oh yeah, become a patron at Patreon too. Patreon.com/Ben Morganti. If you can't find me, I don't know. There's something wrong. I don't know. I have to figure that out maybe. But other than that, you know the deal. You know the drill. Have a cinematic week.